After the draft the Eagles had, there is no doubt about it. This team is once again in Super Bowl contention. Yo, by the way, King Dingbat here. When you look at the Eagles and what they did in free agency and in the draft, there is only one conclusion you can come back with, and that is the Eagles are once again back in Super Bowl contention. And this is going to be a big week for the Eagles because this is the week the schedule is supposed to come out. The rumor is Thursday, May 9th, we're going to hear the release of the schedule. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. Now, if you guys remember, we already played Green Bay week 1, and I think this is a really bad matchup for the Eagles. I really absolutely hate this matchup. Not because I think the Eagles are going to lose, because I think they could very well win, but the Green Bay Packers are a really good team. They were good at the end of last year. They had a great offseason, just like the Eagles. I think them and the Eagles, two of the best off seasons were with the Eagles and Green Bay. So this is going to be a tough game, and the Eagles are playing at home, but they're not really playing at home. So we'll see how the schedule plays out. I'm really excited when you talk about the schedule to see that the Eagles don't play on Christmas Eve and they don't play on Christmas Day. That's what I want. I don't want to see them either one of those days because I don't want to do any streaming or anything those days except for drink eggnog and wait for Santa Claus. All right? So we'll see the schedule this week. We will be covering it possibly live. It should be really fun. Now, as I was saying, when you look at this draft, the draft that the Eagles just had, okay? Now, we're talking about the Eagles here. We're talking about a real team here. We're talking about a real team. Not a lame team with 1-star rating on their helmet, a satanic star at that, a team that sacrifices chickens to get wins. No, we're talking about a real team that actually goes out and literally tries to win. But we're talking about the Eagles. The Eagles are once again Super Bowl contenders. They're Super Bowl contenders. And people need to get this through their head because it's the truth. What the Eagles did in offseason, with all the things that they did in the offseason, with free agency and the draft, this team is definitely Super Bowl contenders that have, $27 million in cap space. More than $27 million in cap space. That still could pull off trades, still could pull off signing free agents, still have a lot of wiggle room to get even better. But this team is a Super Bowl contender. I really believe that they had, I think, the best draft under Howie Roseman in an all-around way. I think maybe, you look at last year's draft, you got one of the best 3 players in the whole draft in Jalen Carter. This year, I thought your first round was a steal, your second round was a steal, your third round, it could turn out to be even the biggest steal. I love what they did with Trotter. I love Anais Smith. We talked about him yesterday. So I really think this was a very big draft for the Eagles that is going to have a lot of players actually playing, okay? And I think when you take what the Eagles did in free agency and what they did in the draft, I think this team is a Super Bowl contender again. Now, there are concerns that I still have. I really think, and my biggest concern going into this season is going to be that edge rusher spot. Letting Hassan Reddick go is definitely risky. It's risky. I don't care what anybody says. It's risky. And you got to hope that Bryce Huff, that first year that he had double-digit sacks, was only the beginning of what he can do. And I think that's probably what the case is. But that's what the Eagles have to be thinking. You have to hope Nolan Smith develops so he'll play more. And if you get production from those 2 guys, you'll be fine. But that's my biggest concern about the Eagles. I'm not worried about Jalen Hurts. I'm not worried about the offense. I'm not even worried about the secondary anymore. What I'm worried about is that pass rushing coming off the edge. That's going to be the main thing. But the way I look at this team, they are Super Bowl contenders. And listen, it's not just me saying it. I'm not the only one saying this. Check this out, right? Pro Football Focus, Dalton Wasserman. All right, this is what he said. Quote, there are draft steals every year, Wasserman points out. But Philadelphia selecting Mitchell and DeJean, we'll say Dijon, is highway robbery. Mitchell led the FBS in overall grade in each of the past 2 seasons, and DeJean is one of the cleanest projections in the class with his plus athleticism and clean technique. These two players put the Eagles back in Super Bowl contention. There it is. It's not coming from me. It's not coming from Philly 500. It's coming from somewhere else. The Eagles are contenders again. And I think it really starts with the first free agency move that they made. And it was signing Saquon Barkley. When the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley, what they did was they took their strength, their offense, and they made it 10 times better. And by doing that, it has allowed the Eagles to go out and draft Mitchell, draft DeJean, draft all these guys on the defense, and even take a chance and let Hassan Reddick go, because you know that your offense can move the ball. You know that your offense can score points. And having the luxury of that offense gives you a chance to go younger on defense and let those young defensive players play. See, the key to getting these guys like Mitchell and DeJean and Trotter and even Bryce Huff in free agency, the key to getting those guys is to let them play. Let them play. That's why you got Barkley. That's why you got the offense that you did. So you can make these guys better, okay? Now, Roseman talked about Saquon Barkley in the signing, because people want to say, well, if Saquon Barkley's a risk, he's always hurt and stuff like that. There's a risk in everything, okay? But I got to tell you, Saquon Barkley is a talented player, and if he lives up to his talent that I know that he has in there, I think if he plays on the level he did 2 years ago, the Eagles' offense is going to go to another level. Okay, now there was an interview on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Howie was on, and they asked him about the Barkley signing, right? And this is what Roseman said. Roseman noted Barkley's ability to do everything asked of a running back, and said the team asked itself, is something being undervalued when considering a run at signing Barkley? They ultimately decided there was a, quote, way to zig when everyone was zagging at the position. Now, this is something that I bring up because I talked about the zig and zagging and doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing is typical Howie Roseman. You got to know Howie vision. You got to speak Howie's language. Fortunately, I'm fluent in it, right? He said, it's, quote, hard to find a difference-making players and people, and it's hard to find them for a cost, Roseman said. Those guys, they go for a lot of money, and we felt like there was an opportunity to get one of those guys in Saquon and bring him to the team. There's risks in every decision you make, but we don't think there's any risk on the talent. We don't think there's any risk on the person, and we also feel like maybe, no, that it wasn't anywhere else. But we have a good situation here with us in Philly to kind of maximize him. I don't think there's anyone we came out of the draft that didn't think he wasn't a Hall of Fame caliber talent and person. He's still young, and we're really excited to have him. He knows how talented Saquon Barkley is. And everybody knows, coming out of the draft, everybody knew Barkley was going to be a stud. Really, the injuries have hurt Barkley, and the lack of talent that he played around has really hurt Saquon Barkley. But I think it's really interesting because we talked about this a lot. We've talked about on this channel that when Howie, the way he thinks is he will do something a certain way, and he'll do it a certain way. But when he finds value in doing it another way, he will. So when everybody's saying, don't sign a running back, don't go out and pay money to a running back, at some point, it's going to become such a value to do the opposite thing that nobody else does. He's going to do it. And that's why Howie Roseman is such really a tone setter. Go back to the draft with Carson Wentz. Go back when the Eagles traded up to get him, right? You remember the Eagles had to make like 2 trades to get up to 3. It wasn't just like, boom, they traded up to 3 to get him. They had to trade up to 2, right? They had to trade way up there, but they had to do it multiple times. Nobody was doing anything like that. Now, you see all these teams constantly trading up like it's nothing. Howie Roseman is usually 2-3 steps ahead of everybody else. And he also does the opposite of what everybody else does. When the trends go one way, Howie will go another way and start a new trend totally and completely. That's what he did with Saquon Barkley. It was a genius move, and it was a great move, and it's going to pay off. And that signing, the Saquon Barkley signing, set the foundation for the Eagles to go and be back in Super Bowl contention, because now you have one of the best running backs in the league. I believe Barkley will be the same impact that Christian McCaffrey is to the 49ers. And having that kind of offense is going to allow you to score points. And if you're smart and you do the right thing, you can then take advantage of it on defense. And it can allow you to build your defense with young guys, play those young guys early, and let them make the mistakes. Let them give up the touchdowns. Let them give up the points, because you know you're going to make up for it on the back end. But by the time you get into the end of the season, you get into December, you get into January, all of a sudden, those young guys that have been playing and getting reps and stuff, they're going to start to learn. They're going to start to feel comfortable, and they're going to start playing good football. And they're going to start playing good football at the perfect time, when it's playoff time. This is a Super Bowl contending team. There is no question about it. Now, being a Super Bowl contender doesn't mean you go and win a Super Bowl. You have to do it step by step. But this team, to me, is a better team on paper, and I think it'll show on the field, than they were last year. And I think they could even be potentially better than they were 2 years ago. But they got to go do it now. And I think all of this started with Saquon Barkley, getting him. Once you got him, and then the draft you had to land the caliber of talent defensively. I mean, you landed two top 20 players in the draft, both on defense, both in the secondary. You can't go wrong with that. This is a Super Bowl contending team. That's just the way it is. So we'll get ready to see this schedule this week. Hopefully, it won't be too brutal, and there'll be no Christmas games whatsoever. With that said, take care. I'll talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's Howie Vision. We're all just living in it. Dallas still stinks.
Dude, what the fuck?
The Cooper! The flying
Oh my
Frenchman!
god. Oh my god.
C'est bon! I'm dizzy. We did it. We did it. We transformed the Philadelphia Eagles secondary. We now have a secondary that is going to be good for years to come. Because one, we got Quinyon Mitchell, but we also got the flying Frenchman, Cooper DeJean. That's right, the flying Frenchman, Cooper DeJean. C'est bon. Oh, here's another interception. That's right, Cooper DeJean is about to dominate the NFL. Can't wait to see him out on the field. And if you're like me and you thought this was a great move by the Eagles and you support this pick, then you definitely want to check out this shirt. The Cooper DeJean Flying Frenchman shirt. Look at this thing. You can see him in midair, flying through the air, transforming to an eagle. That's right, Cooper DeJean is here. Link is in the description. Get your shirt now while you can, because Cooper DeJean is about to take the Eagles to another level. Denzel Washington, out.